I have created the greatest hockey player of all time, but there's one problem. He is not going to be playing in the NHL. Instead, he will be playing in my custom league called the Pasta Hockey League. 20 teams in the league. He will join in as an 18-year-old phenom, and we are going to go ahead and simulate his entire career. After I bought the NHL away from Gary Bettman, changed it to the PHL, we're going to see if Ben Dover can create new NHL records, breaking maybe some of Wayne Gretzky total records, and just see how dominant he can be in the PHL instead of the NHL. So here he is, Mr. Ben Dover on the Yukon Iceman, and he's going to start out as an 18-year-old on this absolutely stacked roster. So let's go ahead, take a look. So taking a look at the lineup, we are absolutely stacked. Of course, Ben is going to play the entire game. 4 lines, he's going to play in every single one. So the full 60 minutes, he will be out there putting up amazing numbers. He'll be alongside Gensel, McDavid. We also have Stankoven and Chris Kreider, Warren Foegele, Ryan O'Reilly, Blake Wheeler, and Atu Ratu. Now, defensively, this team's still good. Bobby Orr at a 98 overall with Bouchard, Forsling. Al McGinnis is on the squad. And then our bottom pair is Ryan Suter and Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who we can replace over the years. And in goal, a 92 overall Jake Ottinger with Jack Campbell as the backup, who is signed to a big deal, but luckily here in the PHL, the salary cap is absolutely maxed out, and we are just basically going to sim Ben's entire career, but in the PHL, and see if he can break records after records. So let's go ahead and see how he does. Now, if you guys do enjoy videos like this, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you get notified when either I go live or post a video. And now it is time to see how good Ben can do in a full career in the Pasta Hockey League. So at the end of season number 1, the Yukon Icemen are going to go 46, 31, and 5, 97 points, as they would end up being the 3 seed in their conference. Yes, the playoff seeding is not by division spots, it's by conference, 8 per conference. Will make it into the Pasta Hockey League playoffs, as the Central Grizzlies were the best team, winning 56 games, followed by the Nevada Spacemen, who are one of the newer teams in the league. Italy was up there, Alabama, and the Alberta Moose, followed by Yukon. So we were top 6. We do have a great roster. We should have a lot of success throughout this video. Ben Dover is going to have the greatest rookie season of all time. Goal per game, 82, while also putting up 186 points. The next closest was Bobby Orr with 77. McDavid had 75, also 40 goals. Chris Kreider, he was good. Jake Gensel was okay. I mean, 18 goals isn't great for him. O'Reilly was all right. Foegele. These young guys in Stankoven, Atu Ratu, I do want to grow them and hopefully get them to a high overall, as Jake Ottinger was horrible. 36 wins, only 2 shutouts, and an .892 save percentage. Now, of course, Ben will end up leading in goals with 82 and points with 186. I feel like this is going to be a trend throughout the entire video. He's going to dominate. Gretzky was up there with 123, also 54 goals. Jack Hughes had a good season. Lemieux was up there, Kucherov, and Luke Robitaille. And in round number 1, we are going to be matching up with the Oakland Bank Robbers. So let's see if Ben can go on in his rookie season and possibly take home the PHL championship. Luckily, we got rid of the Bank Robbers in 6 games, and now we face the Alaska Lions in the second round. We would deal with the Lions in 6 games also, and now in the conference finals, we have the BBC Thunder. 4 more wins, and we make the Pasta Cup finals. And luckily, we did make the Pasta Cup finals up against the Boston Alcoholics. So let's see if Ben in his rookie season can go on and take home the Stanley Cup. And unfortunately, the Boston Alcoholics were just clearly the better team, regardless of the fact that they only won 38 games in the regular season. They went up 3-0. We only got 1 win in the finals. And unfortunately, Ben in his rookie season will not win the Pasta Cup. Now, in the postseason, Ben Dover was absolutely amazing. 27 goals and 48 points. McDavid had 22 or 20. Blake Wheeler had, oh my God, Blake Wheeler had 12 goals in the postseason. He's probably going to retire after the year is over. And Jake Ottinger, oh my God. Jake Ottinger, 896 save percentage, 13 wins, 2 shutouts, but I mean, his stats were absolutely terrible. Ben Dover will take home the Ted Lindsay, Maurice Richard, Art Ross, and Hart Trophy. The Norris will go to Adam Fox. The Conn Smythe to Jack Hughes, also the Calder to Ben. Jeremy Swayman will win the Vezina, and the Selke will go to Stevie Y of the St. Louis Guns. So here we are in the draft, and I think I am going to go with Gabriel Diego. I have seen him grow and win Vezina trophies before, and he's a medium elite potential. 68 overall, a future goaltender for the Yukon Icemen. Now, as we head into the second season, Ben obviously is still going to be 99 overall. He probably will for his entire career after a great rookie season, 19 years old. We pretty much picked up only Kasperi Kapanen, but he's not even going to play. We do have Stankoven up to an 84 now. Caden Lindstrom, our prospect from year number 1, is an 84 overall at 19 years of age. We're going to be absolutely set in a few years. Defensively, the same exact decor: Bouchard, Orr, McGinnis, Forsling, Ekblad, and Gaudette. And in goal, a 90 overall Jake Ottinger. He went down 2 overalls after that absolutely horrific season that he had last year. Now, at the end of year number 2, Yukon will go 47, 27, and 8, 102 points, second in their conference behind the Oakland Bank Robbers, who we did beat in year number 1 in the first round. If we take a look at the entire league here in the PHL, the Central Grizzlies were the best team, followed by the Nevada Spacemen, St. Louis Guns were good, Oakland Bank Robbers, and the Yukon Icemen. Ben is going to crack the 200-point mark while also scoring 87 goals on the season. Absolutely electric, followed by Bobby Orr, who had 111, McDavid, 92. Stankoven didn't have a great season, but I mean, 67 points at an 86 overall is pretty good. Jake Gensel was okay, Ryan O'Reilly okay, and for Jake Ottinger, I mean, he's fallen off a cliff. As soon as I turn on the stream, a 901 save percentage and only 38 wins. Yet again, Ben will lead in goals with 87 and points with 202. Followed by Gretzky, who had 112, Draisaitl 111, Orr was up there. Kyle Connor had a big season, as well as Adam Fox with 107 points. Shout out Maurice Richard, 48 goals, 106 points. As in the first round of the playoffs, we are up against the Alabama Burger Boys. We beat the Burger Boys in 6 games, and now we face the Alberta Moose in round number 2. And in the second round, the Yukon Icemen will blow a 3-1 lead to the Alberta Moose and lose 6-2 in game 7. How many goals did Ben score the entire game? He had not a single goal the entire game. Bendover was nowhere to be found in Game 7. That is crazy. And shout out to the Kansas City Wings going all the way, beating Alberta in 7 to win the Pasta Championship. Unfortunately, we lost Alberta. That literally should have been us. Not losing, but winning. But unfortunately, we literally choked away a 3-1 lead. I mean, in the playoffs, Ben was very good. 12 goals, 30 points in only 13 games. It was just Game 7. He did not show up. McDavid had 15, Gensel 15, and Orr also 15. And for Jake Ottinger, man, it might be time to move on from him. He's up to a 91 now, but he's just not simulating that good whatsoever. Yet again, Ben is going to take home all the major individual awards. Cale Makar is going to win the Norris, the Conn Smythe to Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Martin Brodeur the Vezina, and the Selke will go to Stevie Y yet again. Now heading into year number 3, Ben of course still will be playing the entire game, but Stankoven up on that first line at an 89 overall alongside McDavid, Gensel, Bendover, and Lindstrom on the second line. We also got Atu Ratu and Matthew Savoie. Defensively, Bouchard and Orr. Bouchard is up to an 87. We also picked up Danico in free agency to help out our decor. And in goal, Jake Ottinger back up to a 91 overall. And our prospect in Gabriel Diego will be the backup at a 76. So hopefully Jakey boy can have a very good regular season. Now, yet again, Yukon is going to have a great regular season, 46, 29, and 7, 99 points at the top of their conference. And for the entire PHL, the Nevada Spacemen, 55 wins. Kentucky Fried Chicken at 53. Yukon was up there. St. Louis and Alberta. Bendover is going to have another great season. 97 goals and 201 points. Followed by Gensel, who had 82 and 32 goals. Bobby Orr had 80. McDavid, not a great season by Connor McDavid. 27 goals and 72 points. Stankoven at 66. Bouchard, 48. And for Jake Ottinger, 37, 3 shutouts, a 902 save percentage. Still not as high as I want it to be, honestly, but I mean, I can live with 3 shutouts and 37 victories. Obviously, Ben is going to lead in goals with 97 and points with 201, followed by Gretzky, who had 114. Larry Robinson had 111 as a D-man. Maurice Richard was up there, as well as Kyle Connor and Jason Robertson. Shout out Patrick Kane, 45 goals, 99 points as a 38-year-old in the PHL. And if we take a look at the goal side, I mean, Lemieux was up there, Kyle Connor, Matthews is okay, Maurice Richard was okay, but nobody And I mean, nobody was even remotely close to bend over, having 97 on the season. And now in the playoffs in round number 1, we are going to have to face the Warsaw Monsters. Dominated Warsaw in 6 games in the first round, and now we face the Alabama Burger Boys. Got rid of the Burger Boys in 6 games, and now we have the Fort Wayne Vikings in the conference finals. And yet again, the Yukon Icemen are back in the Pasta Cup finals, this time up against the Kentucky Fried Chicken. So hopefully we learned our lesson from last time and we can actually go on and win Ben's first ever Pasta Cup in his entire career. And here we are, game 4 of the Pasta Cup finals. Yukon is up 3-0 in the series, and we have overtime. Bendover and Crosby, we're going back and forth. They each score 2 goals in the third to have a tie game here in overtime. And hopefully we can see Yukon and Ben raise the Stanley Cup on home ice. Here we go. Bobby Orr coming in. Turns it over there. Bobby Orr, I mean, he can rush the puck, but he's got to get a shot on net. As Miller, great save. I do not think that's Jake Ottinger in the net. That might be Diego. I don't know why our backup would be in on a 3-3 tie. Ray Bork, skating in, getting bloodied at the line. Bobby, up to Bouchard. Here we go, Bushbaum. Bouchard coming in over Stanko and back. Ben! What a save by the netminder of the Kentucky Fried Chicken, Dennis Potvin. He's going to be rushing that puck. Coming in, curling, back to Draisaitl. What a save by, I don't even know. Was that Diego? It might have been Diego. Ben, breakaway, Connor, McDavid gets absolutely robbed behind the net. Ben, back to the point. Back over, or shooting. There's a rebound there. There's a rebound. Please get on that rebound. As JT Miller will skate the puck out. We got 12 minutes left to overtime. Oh, no. Oh, no. What a save by our netminder, Stankoven. Here we go. Stankoven. What can you do, brother? Coming in over McDavid. What a save by Jeremy Swayman. Alrighty, big offensive zone draw. Ben loses it. He has a 99 faceoff, but he loses the goddamn draw. Also, I would like to mention how absolutely massive Ben is on the ice there. He's a behemoth among men. Crosby coming in over to Tavares. Getting bodied by Ben. He's going to make him bend over Red Rover. Here we go. Stankoven. Stankoven doesn't get a shot on net. I don't know what Logan Stankoven is doing. Keep that in, Ben. No, keep the puck in. Caden Lindstrom coming in over Gensel. Ben, rebound, and there it is. The Yukon Icemen will go all the way in year number 3, winning Ben's very first Pasta Cup in his PHL career, as we sweep the Kentucky Fried Chicken in the Pasta Cup Finals, Stanley Cup Finals, whatever the hell it's called. I mean, we were clearly the better team. We've been a great team since Ben got there, and we finally get rewarded in our second Stanley Cup Final appearance of the video. And of course, the Conn Smythe will go to Ben. 35 goals and 58 points, breaking the all-time scoring record for both goals and points in a single postseason run. As I mean, Ben is the greatest hockey player of all time. The Stanley Cup is about to be raised for the first time ever here in Yukon in one of the territories in Canada. As Ben, come on up, brother. You deserve this. 3 years in the league has not taken Ben too long to become a Stanley Cup champion, as Yukon has gone all the way. Now, in the postseason, we already know Ben was our best player, 35 goals. Nobody else on our team even had 10 goals in the postseason, and Ben had 35. Also, 58 points. Bobby Orr had 23, Gensel 21, Lindstrom 28, and for goalies, Jake Ottinger, there it is, a .915 save percentage. Also having 3 shutouts and 16 wins. He was very good in the playoff run. Ben, again, is going to take home the Ted Lindsay, Maurice Richard, Art Ross, and Hart Trophy. Cale Makar, the Norris, the Conn Smythe. Well, yet again, Ben is going to take home the Ted Lindsay, Maurice Richard, Art Ross, Hart Trophy. Larry Robinson is going to win the Norris, the Conn Smythe. Also will go to Ben. Ilya Sorokin, the Vezina, and the Selke will go to Nico Hischier of the California Stoners. Yet again, Ben is still going to be a 99 overall, playing the entire game, fresh off of his first ever Pasta Cup championship. Our team pretty much is the same. We did not lose anybody defensively. We're also the same. And in goal, Diego up to an 82 overall. He could possibly replace Jake Ottinger very shortly here. 28 years old, 91 overall for Otter. But I mean, we have our young gun coming up, and he's hungry. He's hungry for that starting job. Now, fresh off of a Stanley Cup, we are going to have our best regular season of the video so far. 55, 21, and 6, 116 points. Now, if we take a look at the entire PHL, we were the best team, the President's Trophy winning Yukon Icemen, followed by the Spacemen, KFC was up there, St. Louis, and Fort Wayne. Ben is going to have himself his best season of his career, 111 goals for 227 points. The all-time record, I believe, for the most goals in a season, but not the most points. I think Gretzky did have more one season. McDavid, he produced 50 goals, 107 points, followed by Bobby Orr with 107, Stankoven at 73. Gensel was up there as well as Aatu Ratu. And for our goalie, Jake Ottinger, man, you might honestly get replaced after the next few seasons. Once Diego gets up to like an 88 overall, I'll probably rock with him. I mean, in 15 games, he was 10-1-1, one shutout with a 934 save percentage. Now, of course, Ben will lead in goals with 111 and points with 227, followed by Bobby Hall or Brett Hall with 115. Matthews had 114, Hughes 112. Barkov was up there with 111, as well as McKinnon and Connor McDavid. As the Yukon Icemen will play the Alaska Lions in round number 1. We got rid of the Lions in 6 games in the first round, and then we faced the Oakland Bank Robbers in the second round. And unfortunately, the Bank Robbers will sweep us in the second round. We did not even get a game on them. Look at this, 4-2, 7-1, and then a 5-3 L in game 4. The Boston Alcoholics would end up beating Oakland in the finals in 6 games to go on and win the PHL title. Now, I know we did get swept, but Ben was goal per game, 11 goals in 10 games, in 10 games, also had 15 points. His assists weren't really there in the playoffs. Jake Gensel had 10, Aatu Ratu 8, McDavid 8. I mean, losing 4 straight in the second round is crazy work for a team that just won the Stanley Cup. And I mean, Diego, he did his thing. He's our future. Yet again, Bend Over Red Rover will win all the awards. Bobby Orr is going to take home the Norris, Miro Heiskanen the Conn Smythe, Thatcher Demko the Vezina, and the Selke will go to Mr. Ben for the very first time in his historic career. Now, as we head into year number 5 of Ben's career, still playing the entire game, obviously a very disappointing defeat in the second round, getting swept. Our roster pretty much is the same offensively, defensively, and in goal, as Jake Ottinger's a 91 and Diego growing very fast, up to an 85 now. Our future starting goalie for sure, only 21 years old. The Yukon Icemen just hit a new franchise high, 56 wins, 25 losses, 1 in overtime, 113 points. The back-to-back President's Trophy winners. As KFC also were very good, 48 wins. Chicago was up there, Alabama and Warsaw. Bend Over will put up 102 goals and 210 points on the season, followed by Bobby Orr, who had 104. Savoie had 82. Gensel was up there with 80, and McDavid 77. And for Jake Ottinger, only a 908 save percentage, 2 shutouts, and 41 wins. Yet again, we are used to this. Bend Over leading in goals with 102 and points with 210. Lemieux had 117 points. Joe Sakic was up there. Jack Hughes had a good season, as well as Bobby Orr. And Austin Matthews, 55 goals, 103 points. Not going as nuclear as he usually does in these sims, but at the end of the day, those are some pretty goddamn good stats. And the Yukon Icemen will face the Fort Wayne Vikings in round number 1. And now it is back-to-back seasons. Very disappointing playoff exits, losing to the Fort Wayne Vikings in game 6 of the first round. I mean, last season we got swept in round number 2, and now this year didn't even get out of round number 1. As the BBC Thunder will go all the way, beating the Nevada Spacemen in 6 games in the finals to finally take home their very first Pasta Cup in this video. Now, Ben was okay in the playoff run, only 3 goals in 6 games and 11 points, so he definitely was not himself. Who knows, maybe he had an injury nagging him. Aatu Ratu was good, Stankoven was good. I think it is time for the Yukon Icemen to move forward with our younger core and build towards the future. Maybe move out a few pieces here and there. Regardless, Ben is still going to take home all the major individual awards. Bobby's going to win the Norris. The Conn Smythe will go to Matthews. Jake Ottinger somehow won the Vezina Trophy, as Ben will take home the Selke. Now, of course, Ben is still a 99 overall. We're running into cap trouble at the moment. Savoie right now is an RFA, has not qualified, or he did get qualified, but he did not accept it yet. Even though he should technically be here, we're probably going to have to move off of maybe Jake Ottinger in the offseason, something like that. Our D-core is relatively the same. I traded for Sergachev, got rid of Gensel, and in goal, Diego up to an 87. Jake Ottinger only a 90 at 30 years old. So this most likely is his final season as a Yukon Iceman. Yet again, Yukon will have a very good season. 52 wins, 25 losses, 5 in overtime. at the top of their conference and second in the entire NHL behind the Boston Alcoholics, who only won one more game than us. Alberta was very good. Halifax was up there. The St. Louis Guns and the Central Grizzlies. At the bottom of the league, we do have the Alaska Lions, only winning 25 games. Kansas City, who did win a Stanley Cup in this video, are not good anymore. Waterloo is down there, Chicago making the playoffs, and Fort Wayne finished 15th in the league, but unfortunately in their conference, they were just not good enough. Bendover will put up 111 goals and 203 points as nobody else on our team even cracked 100. Bobby Orr had 99, Savoie 93, massive season by him. McDavid had 80, Stankoven 80, Atu Ratu had a pretty good season, and for Jake Ottinger, what did he do? Only a 902 save percentage. So, Diego, you are up next season, brother. You're probably going to be the starter. You're an 87 overall. Still very young at 23, as we are going to move on from the 90 overall Jake Ottinger. Yet again, Ben will lead in goals with 111 and points with 203, followed by Hughes, who had 115. Matthews was up there, as well as Teemu Solani, who's 33 years old. Mario had 103, Gretzky 101, Bobby Orr cracked 99. Looking at the goals, outside of Ben, this Tristan Gino scored 62 as a 21-year-old. Jack Hughes had 56. Lemieux 54. Brett Hall was up there with 50. As UConn will play the Oakland Bank Robbers in round number 1 yet again. We would end up sweeping Oakland in the first round, and then we face the BBC Thunder in round number 2. We got rid of the BBC Thunder in 5 games, and now in the conference finals, we face my former team, as I was a GM of the Halifax Bulls before. But ultimately, I am now a member of the UConn Icemen. And there it is, the end of our playoff run, as the Bulls will defeat us in 6 games in the conference finals. And shout out to the Halifax Bulls going all the way, beating Italy in 6 games to win the Pasta Cup. Now, Ben in the playoffs was very good. 20 goals in 15 games, also 37 points. Stankoven at 17, Savoie 16, and Bobby Orr 16 as well. Ben is going to take home the Selke. Ted Lindsay, Maurice Richard, Art Ross, and Hart Trophy. Cale Makar, the Norris. Marcel Dion will win the Conn Smythe. Thatcher Demko, the Vezina. And that is going to do it for this year in the PHL. Now, Bendover, still going to be a 99 overall, but goddamn, are we ever running into cap hell. Ben taking up $23.7 million off the cap for 5 more seasons. He's the highest paid player in the entire league, but all these guys are asking for close to $20 million. I mean, Savoie, what did we get Savoie at? Savoie got signed for 18 mil. Like, the contracts in the PHL are way bigger than the NHL, but our forward core kind of cooked, kind of good. I mean, Ben's going to play the entire game. Defensively, we are still very good. And in goal, we moved off of Jake Ottinger, have Gabriel Diego and Dustin Wolf as our backup. Dustin Wolf was in the Ottinger trade. UConn Icemen would yet again have another great season, 51, 25, and 6, 108 points, as we would end up finishing as the second best team in the entire PHL behind the Central Grizzlies, who only did win 1 more game than us, same amount of points, but the regulation wins, I believe, was the tiebreaker. KFC was up there with 50. New York was very good. California and Boston at the bottom. We do have the Kansas City Wings, the Alabama Burger Boys, and the Italy Slices. Ben, again, another great season, 111 goals, 199 points. Savoie had 99, so he's a future stud moving forward. Bobby Orr had 79. McDavid only 72, so maybe we can move off of him. He's only, he is making $17 million, so it would be a good move to get rid of him in the future seasons. Lindstrom, 68 points, 24 goals. Stankoven at 57. Only 9 goals on the year, not great. And if we take a look at Diego, 5 shutouts, more than Jake Ottinger literally ever gave me, a 902 save percentage, and 34 wins. Of course, Ben will still lead in goals with 111 and points with 199, followed by Paul Coffey, who had 116. Robitaille was up there. Nylander having a great season. Matthews had 60 goals and 105 points. Draisaitl had 103, Bedard 101, and Tim Stützle 101. And if we take a look at the goals outside of Ben, Matthews was the lone 60-goal scorer. Now, UConn, again, for, what is this, like 4 or 5 times in the playoffs in round number 1, we have to face the Oakland Bank Robbers. We got rid of Oakland in 6 games yet again, man. I'm tired of facing them in round number 1. Now we face the Bulls in the second round. And unfortunately, yet again, another loss to the Bulls, this time in 6 games in round number 2, as we have even yet to fail to make the conference finals since we won the Stanley Cup Cup, what, like 3 years ago? The Alberta Moose would end up going on and taking home the PHL championship as they beat Central Grizzlies in Game 7 of the finals. Now, through 2 rounds of the playoffs, Ben was okay, 16 goals, 24 points. That's another day in the life for him. I mean, Lindstrom had 11, Bobby Orr 11, Stankoven 11, and Savoie 10. What did Diego do? I mean, 3.5 goals against per game and only a .901 save percentage is not great, but hopefully he can grow. He's up to an 88 now, which is good. Bend over, Red Rover. Let me take over. Paul Coffey is going to win the Norris. The Conn Smythe will go to Brett Hall. Martin Brodeur, the Vesna, and the Selke will go to Mr. Ben from the Yukon Icemen. Now, taking a look at the team, Ben still obviously is a 99 overall. We are running into cap trouble, though, so I'm just going to let the computers work with what they have here. Auto sign free agents, auto staff management, see what they want to do with the team. GM Pasta is handing over the reins of the Yukon Icemen. Ben obviously going to play the entire game. Defensively, Bobby Orr is down to a 94 now. Bouchard move up there on that top pair. The rest of our decor is pretty rough. And taking a look at our goalie, we have Diego, who is an 88 overall, which, I mean, should be good enough to at least win a Stanley Cup with this roster. Now, despite having a pretty rough start to the season, the Yukon Icemen will finish with a record of 45, 31, and 6, 96 points, third in their conference behind the Bulls and the Chefs. And if we take a look at the entire PHL right now, the Kentucky Fried Chicken, #1 in the league behind or ahead of the New York Chefs, who did win more games. The Central Grizzlies were up there, 51 wins. Boston Alcoholics, the Halifax Bulls, all top 5 in the league. At the bottom, we have the Alabama Burger Boys, not having a great time. Only won 25 games in the sim. The Italy Slices are bad, as well as the Waterloo Riz. Bendover is absolutely carrying the team, leading in goals with 114 and points with 210, followed by McDavid, who only had 95, but I mean, at this point in his career, that's a pretty goddamn good season. Goodenin had 73. This guy's only an 82 overall, playing like 3rd, 4th line minutes. Stankoven had 71, Lindstrom 70, also 22 goals. I don't know why he's not simulating too well on that first line. Bobby Orr had a fall from grace. Also, Orr and McDavid's contracts are up at the end of the season, so it'll be interesting to see if the computers can re-sign them. Now for Diego, 37 wins, 3 shutouts, a .901 save percentage. He didn't have a great season. He is 25 years old, entering the prime of his career. Not the greatest stats as soon as he became a starter, but maybe that's because our team just isn't that great defensively and really relies on heavily Bendover carrying us offensively and winning us games. Ben will still lead in goals with 114 and points with 210 for the entire league, followed by Draisaitl, who had 121. Jack Hughes was up there. Kaprizov had a good season. Carlson with 107. This is the first time I'm seeing him in the sim. If we take a look at the goals, obviously Ben will lead, followed by Gretzky, who had half the amount of goals that Ben had at 53. Gino Way had 53, Brett Hall 51, Pasternak 51, and Robo 48. As the Yukon Icemen will play the Alberta Moose in the very first round. Sadly, the playoff struggles do continue as we lose in 6 games to the Alberta Moose in the very first round, as the St. Louis Guns will go all the way, beating the Warsaw Monsters in 6 games in the PHL Finals. In the playoffs, I mean, Ben was pretty good, 4 goals, 10 points in 6 games. Usually those numbers are a little more crazy than that. So Vaugh had 7. He was a ghost in the regular season. McDavid was okay. Barreau had 1 goal and 5 points. And I mean, Gabriel Diego, 2-4 record with an .893 save percentage and almost 3.5 goals per game. Bendover again is going to dominate all the awards. The Norris will go to Ray Bork, the Conn Smythe to Dylan Larkin. Glenn Hall will take home the Vesna. Heading into year number 9, Bendover still will be a 99 overall. McDavid down on that 3rd line. Maybe we'll throw him up. I have no idea what to do. Goonin, I mean, he was 3rd line minutes last year and put up pretty good numbers. What did he have? 20 goals and 73 points. McDavid still is a 91, 95 overall. Savoie's an 86, Lindstrom 90, Stankoven 89. Offensively, we are still very good. Defensively, I mean, Bobby Orr is our only good defenseman, and in goal, Diego still an 88 overall. Now, for the very first time in the video, the Yukon Icemen will miss the playoffs as we were 9th in our conference, just missing out. We actually, I mean, 6 points is quite a bit. 32 wins, 40 losses, 10 in overtime, 6 points back of the Alberta Moose, who were the final team to get in this conference. And I mean, not looking too great for Ben. If we take a look at the entire PHL at the moment, the Boston Alcoholics were the best team, winning 54 games. followed by the New York Chefs, the Halifax Bulls, the Fort Wayne Vikings, and the Warsaw Monsters. And for the Yukon Icemen, bottom 4 in the league, they do have a shot at getting the #1 overall pick, which honestly would be massive for this franchise. Now, despite missing the playoffs, Ben was still very good. 98 goals, 194 points. Lindstrom at 82, McDavid 70, Stankoven 66, and Gooden at 64, also 17 goals. And for Diego, I mean, he wasn't great. An .892 save percentage, only 1 shutout, and 27 wins. 29 regulation losses. This also Valen, guys, an 80 overall as our backup, and he lost most of the games that he played. Bendover still dominating the league, leading in goals with 98 and points with 194, followed by Hughes, who had 121, McKinnon 118. Shout out to McKinnon winning the Hart Trophy and the Ted Lindsay in real life, followed by Leo Carlson, who had 117, Kaprizov 112, I should say, and Brett Hall 106. Shout out to the Boston Alcoholics, going all the way, dominating New York in 5 games in the PHL Finals. Ben is still going to take home all the major individual awards. Cale Makar is going to be awarded the Norris, the Conn Smythe to Jack Hughes, Keith will win the Vezina, and the Selke will go to Dylan Cousins. And I guess it sucks to suck as the Yukon Icemen literally did not move in the draft lottery, as the Chicago Coyotes will win it. They stayed at 1. 2 and 3 mixed out, but outside of that, it stayed the same. We are now officially 10 years into Ben's PHL career. I was about to say NHL. Regardless, still a 99 overall at 27 years of age. And honestly, the computers, rounding out the forward core, we have all 80s in our forward core. Defensively, we are absolutely cooked. And in goal, we still have Diego, who's an 87 overall, and our backup is Reasoner, who's an 82. So we shall see if Ben and the Yukon Icemen can go on and make the playoffs this season, rebound off of last year. The Yukon Icemen will have a very nice bounce back season, 46, 28, and 8, 100 points, second in our conference, only behind the Halifax Bulls. And for the entire PHL, we would end up being 6th in the entire league, behind St. Louis, Halifax Central, Nevada, and then the Boston Alcoholics, who are the reigning defending Pasta Cup champions, 51, 24, and 7 record. So have a look out for them. Maybe they're forming a dynasty, maybe not, who knows. Bendover is going to have his best goal scoring season so far, 122 tucks on the season for 220 points, followed by Stankoven, who had 27 goals and 80 points. Goodenin had 79, Lindholm 61, Lindstrom had 58, and for Diego, 39, 20, and 7, only 1 shutout and not really the greatest stats. Obviously, Ben is going to have the most goals at 122 and the most points at 220, followed by Jack Hughes, who has honestly been putting up numbers, 125 on the season. Leo Carlson had 117, Gretzky 113, Matthews 113, and shout out to Connor Bedard, a player who I did try trading for, didn't get it done, 60 goals and 111 points. Now, in the first round of the playoffs, we are going to be facing the Alabama Burger Boys. Now, finally, we won a playoff series, beating the Burger Boys in 6 games, and now we have the Warsaw Monsters in round number 2. Got rid of the Monsters in 6 games, and now in the conference finals, we are back up against the New York Chefs. And finally, the Yukon Icemen are back in the PHL finals, up against the Boston Alcoholics, who I did believe won last season and are the defending champs, trying to form a dynasty in the PHL. Can the Yukon Icemen be the ones to knock them off and go on and win Bendover's 2nd Stanley Cup of his career? And the Yukon Icemen have done it, going ahead and winning their 2nd Stanley Cup, or their Pasta Cup, in franchise history, as Bendover was a monster in the playoff run. We defeated the Boston Alcoholics in 6 games in the Stanley Cup Finals, as we are going to go on and collect our 2nd of the video. Finally, we made it back here, and we did not make no mistakes about it. Has been obviously the Conn Smythe winner, 23 goals, 52 points, an absolutely monster playoff run. The Conn Smythe definitely well deserved. He's the best player in PHL and NHL history, as there it is, the Stanley Cup awaiting to be presented to the Yukon Icemen for the 2nd time in this video. As here comes the GOAT, Bendover, coming to lift the cup for the 2nd time in his career, as we have demolished the Boston Alcoholics dynasty, going on and winning it all this season. Now, in the postseason, obviously, Ben really carried our team. Nobody else even scored 10 goals, and he had 23, also 52 points. Gudenin, he had 19, Sava 19, Lindstrom 19, and Stankoven 18. And for Diego, I mean, there it is. There is the difference from winning in the entire thing or losing in the first round. A 910 save percentage. Bend over, Red Rover, and let me take over. Adam Fox will win the Norris. The Calder will go to Linden. The Conn Smythe also to Ben. And the Vezda will go to Sistadin from the Boston Alcoholics. Now, Ben's contract was up at the end of the season, so I was going to go ahead and take a look to see if I could offer him an extension, and the computer's already got it done. $30 million for 6 years for Mr. Ben. Literally getting NBA money. The funny thing about it is the best players in the NBA right now make literally like $50, $48 million, something around that. This is 2034, 2035, and Ben finally is the one to break through and make $30 million here in the PHL. Now, at the end of the season, the UConn Icemen just barely made the postseason, 41, 36, and 5, 87 points, 7th in our division for the entire league. The St. Louis Guns were the best team, winning 56 games, followed by the Boston Alcoholics, the Central Grizzlies, the Fort Wayne Vikings, and the New York Chefs. At the bottom, we do have the Warsaw Monsters, the Waterloo Riz, and the Kentucky Fried Chicken. And over Red Rover had 104 goals, 191 points. Gudenin had 78, Stankoven 67. Really, our offense was honestly pretty cooked outside of Ben. I mean, he had almost 200 points. Nobody even cracked 80. And we take a look at our goalie, a 900 save percentage. Finally, Diego, and 30 wins. I mean, it got us to the postseason, so I guess I can't complain. Ben is still going to lead in goals with 104 and points with 191. Gretzky had 113 at age 39. Tim Stützle was up there. Kaprizov. Bedard will be here for a while. He's only 29 years old. Braden Point had 102, Robertson 102, and Cale Makar 100 at 36 years old. On the goal side, we had two 60-goal scorers in Gretzky and Gunot. And the UConn Icemen will play the Halifax Bulls in the very first round. They are the 2 seed. We are the 7 seed. And I guess it is what it is. And unfortunately, back-to-back will not happen as we lost to the Bulls in 6 games in the very first round. And the BBC Thunder will go on and win the PHL Finals, beating the St. Louis Guns in 6 games. We didn't really have much of a playoff run, but my God, was Ben good. 13 goals in 6 games, also 20 points. Nobody else even had 10, so it looks like Ben is doing all the carrying here in UConn. Yet again, he's going to take home every single major individual award. Cale Makar is going to win the Norris. The Conn Smythe will go to Austin Matthews. That is how you know it is a video game. And the Vezina will go to Nelson from the Central Grizzlies. Bendover is still a 99 overall, 29 years of age, almost 30, at the tail end of his prime. His prime will probably honestly last until he's like 36, 37 years old and in the actual game. But I mean, this team's still pretty good with Ben there. Defensively, we got this guy who's an 85 overall, medium elite potential. Maybe he can grow. He's only 23 years old. And in goal, we still have Diego, who now is down at an 86 overall. The UConn Icemen, luckily, will make the playoffs. 41, 36, and 5, 87 points. If we take a look at the entire PHL, the Alaska Lions were the best team, winning 54 games. Followed by the Fort Wayne Vikings, the St. Louis Guns, the Central Grizzlies, and the Halifax Bulls. At the bottom, though, Warsaw was bad, only winning 27 games. The Bank Robbers only won 29. And KFC, way down there, 31 wins. Unfortunately, they are not very good. They are fried chicken. It's barbecue chicken alert. Another great season by Ben, 118 goals, 217 points. Gudin had 82. Man, this guy simulates so well for an 85 overall. Stankoven had 78, Macy had 60, Savoie only 49. We pay Savoie all that money to put up 49 points. Honestly, kind of embarrassing, as Diego also was not very good. 30 wins, 2 shutouts, and not even a 900 save percentage. Bendover will have the most goals at 118 and the most points at 217. Rantanen did have 114 alongside Jason Robertson and Kondra Tayev. There's no way I can pronounce that name. Haika had 14, Bedard 112, Wayne Gretzky had 107, Kaprizov 107. If we do take a look at the goal side here, Rantanen 63 goals, Gretzky 63 at age 40. I mean, there is a reason why they call him the great one. Bedard, he had 61. Gunot had 60, so I mean, 560 goal scorers, and there is only one that scored over 100, and that is Mr. Ben. And in the first round of the postseason, we will face the Halifax Bulls, as they were the 3 seed, we were the 6 seed. We dealt with the Bulls in Game 7, a 5-2 victory, and now we face the Fort Wayne Vikings in the second round. And unfortunately, we would end up losing in Game 7 to the Vikings, 5-3. Where was the effort, Ben? Only 3 goals in Game 7. I don't even know how many he had. The St. Louis Guns will go on and win another Pasta Cup as they beat Fort Wayne in 5 games in the PHL Finals. Now, we did only play 14 games, but Ben was amazing. Goal per game with 14, also having 32 points. Stankoven had 15. Gunanen had 14, Lindstrom 12, and Savoie 11. And for Diego, I mean, he had a 908 save percentage. We just didn't have a good enough team yet. Ben is still going to win the Selke. Ted Lindsay, Maurice Richard, Art Ross, and Hart Trophy. The Norris will go to Quinn Hughes. The Conn Smythe also to Quinn Hughes, as Co-op is going to win the Vezina Trophy. Ben is still obviously a 99 overall. We picked up this Sloan guy who is an 89, Elijah Sloan. He should help out our offensive core, as well as we got Savoie back, Gunanen, and Donald, who is an 87, so our forward core is very nicely built. Defensively, honestly, we're not that great, and in goal, if we take a look, still have Diego, who now is down to an 85 overall at 29 years of age. This dude peaked way too early. Now, surprisingly, UConn is going to have their best regular season in a very long time. 50 wins, 25 losses, 7 in overtime, 107 points in the entire PHL. We would end up being the second best team behind the Fort Wayne Vikings, who won 3 more games than us. Kansas City was up there. I mean, you got Alabama, Alaska, Chicago at the bottom. The Italy slices, man. 26 wins, 47 regulation losses is crazy. I cannot even lie. Ben might statistically have the best season of his career, 130 goals, 250 points. Taking a look at his career totals, yeah, that is definitely a career high for Ben and his age 31 season. Logan Stankoven had 100 points himself. Matthew Savoie, he had 99. Gooden had 78. Sloan, 65. And Diego, I mean, he rocked a 903 save percentage, which isn't great, but it isn't terrible either, I guess. I don't know. I think the bar is just set so low for EA goalies that I don't really care. Give me a 900 save percentage and above, and I will not have no issues. Again, Ben will lead 130 goals, 250 points. Gunot had 125, also 70 goals. That is a monster season that really gets overshadowed by Ben. Catton had 111, Rantanen 105. Douglas had 100, as well as Stankoven. And if we take a look at the goal side, other than Ben, Gunot had 70. Pettinger, oh, Jesus Christ. Pettinger had 54. Matthews, 53. Ziegers had 50, Bedard had 50, and Gretzky is still kicking at 41 years of age. As we are going to play the Alberta Moose in the very first round. This time we're the 2 seed, they are the 7 seed, so I'm feeling pretty confident about our group here. We absolutely dog-walked the Moose in 4 games, sweeping them, and now we face the Bulls in the second round. We would end up sweeping the Bulls as well, and now in the conference finals, we have the Fort Wayne Vikings, who are 8-0 to start the postseason on an absolute tear. Well, our magical postseason run has concluded as we got dominated in 5 games by the Fort Wayne Vikings. We only won 1 game, 7-6, an absolute gong show, as somehow the Kentucky Fried Chicken as the 6th seed will go on and take home the title, beating Fort Wayne in 6 games in the finals. Ben in the playoffs, I mean, had 20 goals in 13 games, also 38 points. Stankoven, he had 19. Savoie, 17. Sloan, 13. Ben, again, will take home the Ted Lindsay, Maurice Richard, Art Ross, Hart Trophy. The Norris will go to Quinn Hughes. The Conn Smythe to Casey Middlestat. The Vezina will go to McDermott. And the Selke to Tej Aginla of the Italy Slices. Now taking a look at our roster, Ben still playing the entire game. That cardio in the bedroom has to be at an all-time high, 99 overall. And I mean, our forward core is very, very good defensively. We're not the greatest. And in goal, we still have Diego, 30 years old, at an 86 overall. UConn will have another great regular season, being the best team in the PHL, going 51, 26, and 5, 107 points, followed by the Warsaw Monsters, who, I mean, they did have 50 wins. The Central Grizzlies were up there with 45. Fort Wayne, Nevada, who has been, I mean, a little bit quiet. I have no idea if they've won a Pasta Cup yet. They probably have. I just have lost track at this point. If we take a look at the bottom, we got the Alberta Moose, the worst team, winning 35 games. Chicago is down there, as well as the New York Chefs. Ben is going to put up 128 goals, 224 points. Grillinger had 112 on our team. This guy's a monster at an 88 overall. Savoie had 102. I don't know how we re-signed him. Donald, 69. Halunas, 61. And in goal, Diego, oh my god, man. Diego's stats are so bad. He's a career .899 save percentage and a career .322 GAA. He's got to be the worst statistic goaltender to have 322 wins in the entire history of not only the NHL, but also the PHL. Obviously, Ben is going to lead in goals with 128 and points with 224, followed by Grillinger, who had 112. Gounod was up there. Wang, Savoie. We're getting very deep into the sim here. Very little real players that are still alive. Carlson and Bedard are really... Matthews is still there, 40 years old, putting up 59 goals. Speaking of goals, Bedard had 63, Matthews 59, Gounod 57, and Gino 52. As yet again, we will face the Halifax Bulls in the very first round. We got rid of the Halifax Bulls in 6 games in the first round, and now we face the Oakland Bank Robbers in round number 2. In game 7, we got the job done 5-2, and now yet again, Fort Wayne in the conference finals. They are 8-1. That honestly is a little bit scary, but hopefully we can win 4 more and advance to another Stanley Cup Finals. And unfortunately, we got dealt with in 6 games in the conference finals, as Fort Wayne will go all the way, beating the Central Grizzlies, sweeping them in the PHL finals. I think that's actually the very first sweep in PHL final history. Ben had one hell of a playoff run, 20 goals in 19 games, also 42 points. Grillinger had 28, Savoie 21, Halunas had 13, and Donald had 12. And just for the sake of looking, Diego had 3 goals against per game and a .900 save percentage. Bend over, Red Rover, and let him take over. Zellweger will take home the Norris. The Conn Smythe will go to Berard, and the Vezina to McDermott. Now, Ben, at 32 years old, is still putting in the work in the bedroom with Sophie Rain. 99 overall across the board, playing the entire length of the game, 60 full hard minutes, and then probably about 5 to 10 in the bedroom afterwards. Yet again, another great season by UConn, 47, 30, and 599 points on the season. 3rd in their division, or not division, but their conference, behind the Vikings and the Chefs. And if we take a look at the entire NHL, the Central Grizzlies were the best team, winning 52 games, followed by the New York Chefs. Fort Wayne was up there, UConn, Alabama, and Waterloo. We pretty much now are on autopilot, at least when it comes to managing the team, and we've been very good for a very long time. As long as we have Ben on our roster, we should be able to at least make the playoffs almost every single season. Ben, at 33 years old, will put up 126 goals, 239 points. Lindstrom had 93, Donald 89, Stankoven 68, and Savoie 67. And for Diego, I mean, he did have 4 shutouts. I don't know how you can't even have a .900 save percentage, have 41 wins on the season, and 4 shutouts. That does not even make any sense. This goalie is probably the weirdest simulating goalie ever. We had a 91 Jake Ottinger play, probably the same quality as Diego has given us. Of course, Ben is going to lead in goals with 126 and points with 239, followed by Wang, who had 122. Stützle had 111. Sweetland had 108. Bedard was up there. Pedinger had 103. And okay, I'm not even going to try. Goal side. Bedard had 68, Gino 63, Gounod had 57, a lot of 50 goal scorers. It's definitely a lot higher than it was like 20 years ago here in the PHL. I've taken over the entire NHL, and Gary Bettman, and we have the greatest player of all time living in front of our eyes. UConn in the first round will play the Warsaw Monsters, who are the 7 seed, so hopefully we can absolutely smoke them in the first round. And unfortunately, we got absolutely dominated by Warsaw in 5 games. I mean, game number 1, we come out and lose 9-2. That is literally disrespectful. 6-3 is kind of a bad loss also, but I guess you can defend that. Every other game was honestly kind of close, but it does not matter. We did end up losing in 5 games in the first round. And shout out to the Waterloo Riz, going all the way, beating the Alabama Burger Boys in game 7 of the PHL finals to go on and I think win their very first PHL Cup of this video. I mean, honest to God, we have simmed so many seasons, I can't even remember who has won and who hasn't. But at the end of the day, the Waterloo Riz are your 2039 Pass the Cup champions. In the postseason, Ben probably had his worst postseason run, 5 games, 4 goals and 8 points, -11. If we take a look at his playoff statistics, that's probably his worst one of his entire career. Yeah, he's never had under 11 points, and that was in a 6-game series. But unfortunately, this time, Ben at 33 might be slightly decreasing. A minus 11 in 5 games is tough. Bend over, Red Rover, and let me take over. McLeod is going to win the Norris. The Conn Smythe will go to McTavish, and the Vezina to Pettis. Or maybe penis. For the first time in Ben's career at 33 years of age, he has dropped down to a 96 overall. At 33, you're telling me Ben is already falling off a cliff? I guess Sophie Rain left him in the offseason, so he's going through a very tough time at the moment. He's still going to play the entire game, though, obviously. Now, UConn is still going to have a pretty good season. The 5 seed in their conference going 45, 33, and 4. 94 points. If we take a look at the entire PHL, though, the Fort Wayne Vikings won 51 games, also the President's Trophy winning team. The New York Chefs were up there. Chicago, Alabama had a good season. Kansas City and Halifax, as well as UConn, still kicking it top 10 in the league. At the bottom, who do we have? The Warsaw Monsters. Only 30 wins on the season. The Oakland Bank Robbers were bad, as well as the Nevada Spacemen. And shout out to the Central Grizzlies, 84 points, but they did not make the postseason. Ben, despite the fact that he is now down to a 96 overall, had a monster season, 128 goals, 238 points. Donald had 87, Sava 79, Grillinger had 74, Lindstrom was up there. And I mean, at this point in his career at 33 years old, Gabriel Diego is not very good. 31 wins, an 890 save percentage, almost giving up 4 goals a game. But we still somehow managed to make the postseason. Ben will still lead in goals with 128 and points with 238. Gunot had 111, Rodney was up there 109. Kondratayev had 107, Brennan 106. We literally have all creative players outside of maybe Tim Stutza, Connor Bedard. Leo Carlson is probably still there, but they're nearing retirement. On the goal side, we had a few 60-goal scorers, Reinhardt, Gunot, and Bedard, 61, 63, and 64, but nobody, and I mean nobody, even came close to 128. UConn will face the Halifax Bulls in the first round of the postseason as the 4 and 5 seeds will collapse, or collide, I should say. We got rid of the Bulls in 6 games, and now we face Fort Wayne in the second round. And unfortunately, Fort Wayne has pretty much owned us most of this video, losing, I believe, in 6 games? No, actually 5 games. Holy hell, we got dominated. And the New York Chefs will go all the way, beating Kentucky Fried Chicken in 5 games in the PHL Finals to finally go on and maybe win their first PHL Cup of the video. Probably not, but past his memory is not helping him out here. It doesn't help me out that the fact that I recorded half the video last night and now finishing it up today, the day later. In the postseason, Ben had 12 goals in 12 games and 27 points, so it was not his fault for the reason that we lost in the second round. Despite the fact that Ben is 34 years old, still dominating all the awards, the Norris will go to McLeod, the Conn Smythe to Wyatt Johnston, and the Vezina will go to Pittis. Bendover now is 34 years old, down to a 95 overall, so he is at the tail end of his career. Still playing the entire game, obviously, and still going to put up monster numbers. Now, at the end of the season, the UConn Icemen, unfortunately, will not make the playoffs, as we had one of our worst records of the entire video. 32, 46, and 4, 68 points, missing out by about 10 to the Warsaw Monsters. If we do take a look at the entire PHL, though, the New York Chefs were the worst, or not the worst, the best team, winning damn near 60 games, 59, 15, and 8, 126 points. KFC was up there, California, and Waterloo. Bendover, despite the fact that he was a minus 54, will still put up 105 goals and 209 points. Nobody else on our team even cracked 70 for the entire league. Ben is still going to lead in goals and, of course, lead in points. Wang was up there, though. Sweetland, Brennan, Habashed. I mean, all these creative guys, we're in a whole different PHL right now. We do have Gavin McKenna, who only had 17 goals but 99 points, so I guess he's one of the better players at a 91 overall. The New York Chefs would eventually go on, sweep the St. Louis Guns in the PHL Finals to go on and win another Pasta Cup in this video, as they actually might be the first team to go back-to-back here in the video. They won last season in 39-40, and now this year 40-41, so shout out to the New York Chefs. Bend over, Red Rover, and let him take over. Festerari will win the Norris, the Conn Smythe will go to Gino Way, and the Vezina to Pettis, who are both on the New York Chefs, obviously. Ben is still on the steep decline, down to a 93 overall at 35 years old. We actually went out and picked up Roger McQueen, who is a 34-year-old, probably declining himself. And I mean, this roster is not as good as it used to be. I don't know if we will make the playoffs, but I am hoping for at least one more playoff run with Ben Dover as the best player on the squad. Now, the UConn Icemen will have a bounce-back season, being the 5 seed in their conference, 41, 33, and 8, 90 points. So we will see Ben in at least one more playoff run, as the Halifax Bulls were the best team, winning 56 games, followed by the St. Louis Guns winning 53. New York was up there as well, Central and Alabama. The good old cousin Burger Boys. At 35 years old, Ben Dover is still putting up 112 goals, 216 points. Donald had 73. I mean, nobody else on our team was even remotely close. Still will lead everybody in goals and points. Obviously, the best player in the world at 36. Matthew Patra had 107. First time seeing him this entire video. Gino Way had 100. This guy had 99. And the goal side, how many 60 goal scorers? We had none. So Ben is still far and away the best player in the entire PHL. And yet again, in the first round of the postseason, we are up against the Oakland Bank Robbers. And unfortunately, we would end up losing the first round to them in 6 games, as it does not look like we will ever win another Pasta Cup final. As I mean, we've been bad for a few seasons now. Just barely made the postseason this year, so you never really know. Maybe we do pick up some players in the offseason. But I mean, it's a whole different league now. Who knows? Ben is at the tail end of his career. Shout out to the Kansas City Wings, going all the way, beating the BBC Thunder in Game 7 of the PHL Finals. In the first round of the postseason, Ben was good. I mean, 9 goals in 6 games, also 13 points, was a -4, but that's mostly because he is playing the entire game. As Ben is still racking up all the awards, the Norris will go to Park, the Conn Smythe to Sewer, and Pittis the Vesna yet again, 4 seasons in a row. Ben Dover now has completely fallen off a cliff, down to an 87 overall at 36 years of age. He's pretty much washed. I mean, he's not the player that he used to be, but he can still put up absolute numbers and dominate individually, but the team success probably will not be there. Now, unfortunately, yet again, actually, never mind. UConn barely stuck in, only winning 36 games, losing 34, 12 in overtime, 84 points on the season, 8th in our division. I guess our division, or not our division, our conference was just very, very bad this season. As Ben is going to rack up 99 goals, 186 points, leading in both categories for the entire PHL, as still at an 87 overall, 37 years of age, absolutely dominant in the league. As the UConn Icemen will end up playing the Alabama Burger Boys. They are the 1 seed, so they're probably going to absolutely smoke us. And yeah, I mean, Alabama, we put up some sort of a fight, only winning 1 game. Where was our win? 4-2 win in regulation, but we did get dusted in 5 games by the cousin Burger Boys. And shout out to the St. Louis Guns, getting it done over the BBC Thunder in 6 games in the PHL Finals. Now, we didn't really have much of a playoff run. Ben only had 2 goals and 9 points in 5 games, so yeah, the end is very near. But I mean, Ben is still absolutely dominating the individual awards. Ben, now at 37 years old, currently is an 86 overall. Just re-signed for 2 more years, I believe, at $22.25 million. So hopefully this will be the final contract of his career. Somehow UConn is still going to make the playoffs as the 8th seed, going 34, 38, and 10. Not even a winning record. 78 points on the board for the team. Ben's going to have a significant drop-off in production. I mean, only 67 goals and 168 points would be a lot of, I mean, pretty much everybody's career high outside of Ben, -19. Also, now for the first time in Ben's career, he has been outscored by a different player. Sweetland had 68 goals on the season, but Ben luckily still have the most points at 168. As the UConn Icemen would end up getting swept in the very first round by the New York Chefs, as Fort Wayne will take home yet again another PHL Cup. Ben, now in what could be his final season in the PHL at 38 years of age, is an 86 overall, still going to play the entire game, and hopefully he can wrap his career up at the end here, because honestly, it's been looking pretty bleak for the last 3-4 seasons. What a season for the UConn Icemen, coming back, winning 51 games, losing 28, 3 in overtime, 105 points, 2nd in the league, just behind the St. Louis Guns. And also for Ben, he had a comeback season, 111 goals, 242 points, obviously going to lead the PHL in both categories. it will not even be remotely close. And in the first round, we would deal with the Halifax Bulls in 7 games, and now we face the BBC Thunder in round number 2. We got rid of them in 7 games also, and now in the conference finals, we face the Alberta Moose. And for the first time in probably, honestly, 10 seasons, the Yukon Icemen are back in the Stanley Cup final up against the Chicago Coyotes. And now Ben, in what could be his final season, can he go home with the Pasta Cup? And the Yukon Icemen somehow are going to go on and beat the Chicago Coyotes in 6 games in the PHL finals to go on and win their 3rd Pasta Cup in franchise history. And Ben will get his 3rd ring also in what could be, honestly, his final season. He's getting up there in age. I mean, Bedard retired last year. Ben came a year after him. So you never truly know as Ben and the Icemen get it done. Our 3rd win of the entire video. As of course, Bendover will take home the Conn Smythe. 32 goals and 69 points. That honestly might be his best playoff run of his entire career. And he gets it done at what, 38 years of age? And there it is. The Stanley Cup awaits Ben for the 3rd time in his career, coming to accept it as the Yukon Icemen have gone all the way yet again. Now, Ben in the postseason, we know, was really good. 69 points. Definitely going to be a career high here in the postseason. And 32 goals, I believe, also. No! 35 goals is his record for the most goals in a single playoff run. Wow, I mean, take a look at these numbers. 69 points, 58, 52, 48, 42, 38. Well, you know what? In honor of the historic career that Ben has had and the storybook ending with winning the Stanley Cup and leaving, I'm going to manually retire him from the NHL. And I mean, take a look at his statistics. For a career, he's going to score 2,263 goals, 2,169 assists for 4,432 points. And that has all come within the regular season. Take a look at his career high for points would be 250, and a career high for goals would be 130, breaking both Wayne Gretzky records. Now for the postseason, a career high 69 points in his final postseason run and 35 goals in 2026-27, which honestly was very early on in his NHL career. For career totals in the postseason, 280 goals, 270 assists for 550 points, blowing all of Wayne Gretzky totals out of the water. Now, taking a look at the entire NHL, he will not have the most games played, but he will have the most goals and the most points, almost doubling Gretzky's totals. He's also going to have the most assists all time with 21 hundo, not have the most wins, but 50 goal seasons. He had 21 in his career, which is basically every single season. Also 21 100-point seasons, breaking all the records in the record book, as Bendover is the greatest player of all time. And that is going to do it for Bendover's career in the PHL, from the Edmonton Oil Kings to being the best hockey player of all time. Let me read you out some statistics here. Now, for a career, Ben is going to have 20 Art Ross trophies, 20 Hart trophies, 20 Ted Lindsay awards, 19 Rockets, 17 Selkies, 3 Stanley Cups, and of course 3 Conn Smythe trophies. Now, I did try to go in and film the outro in the franchise mode, but unfortunately my game crashed because of how dominant Ben has been over the course of his career. So let me know in the comments what you guys would like to see next. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, don't be silly. Wrap your willy.